So, what if everything you were told about growth is actually not exactly correct? You've been told that GDP goes up and everything is okay. Maybe not so much because sometimes GDP goes up and innovation stalls. Sometimes budgets rise but transitions lag. That may not be growth. That may be just noise. So in this episode, we'll unpack why GDP is a flawed compass and why degrowth is a dead end, and how the real economy moves through five major transitions: green, digital, war economy, new globalization, and housing. If you work in research or innovation, this is what will decide future innovation calls in Horizon Europe and other elsewhere. Who burns months writing proposals who go nowhere, and who wins the new proposals? So in this episode, you'll also meet António Serrador. He's a veteran of 25 years in EU projects. He says the hardest part isn't funding, it's working together. He's seen how bureaucracy kills innovation and how private sector partnerships deliver faster, sharper impact. He will also explore why he believes dissemination is survival for any project that wants real results. So finally, we'll dive into a live funding opportunity, the Horizon, why they are called the European Excellence Initiative. We're talking about 80 million for alliances ready to prove they can raise excellence, not just paperwork, like Antonio said. So if you're in a widening country, this call can change your research trajectory dramatically. So stay with me because after this, you'll never see growth the same way again. And don't forget to subscribe the channel, subscribe, like, share, and pre-register for the book Transition Science in the Economy next month. You'll find the links in the notes. I hope you enjoyed the episode. So we all know that GDP growth doesn't really represent the economy, not completely. It's kind of a temperature reading, not the patient's health. Every politician will scream growth up and growth down, but in fact, in reality, GDP can rise while your country is falling behind in technology, green capacity, housing, whatever. Because GDP measures transactions, not direction. So then came the idea of degrowth, and an idea that says stop growing to save the planet. Now, this is a nice slogan, don't get me wrong, I love good slogans, but it's terrible economics. I mean, it's hard to decarbonize, it's hard to innovate, it's hard to defend democracy while shrinking your productive base. So, what's missing here? The real question isn't how fast we are growing. The real question is where are we going to? Where are we transitioning to? How far have we gone in that direction and how fast are we going? Because prosperity today depends on five structural transitions. Green, how cleanly we produce. Digital, how intelligently we connect. New globalization, how resiliently we trade. War economy, how securely we mobilize. And housing, how affordably we live. So this is relevant for research and innovation. For researchers, for innovators, this changes everything. Your funding proposal, your tech roadmap, your impact KPIs, they all depend on which transition you are accelerating. Because EU projects don't just change GDP anymore. They target resilience, they target autonomy, they target inclusion across all these five fronts. The AWQI index I built tracks over 150,000 data points across 181 countries. along the years 1990 to 2024. So a whole lot of data, a whole lot of work. And it shows why nations with moderate GDP but strong transition scores like Finland or Estonia can outperform larger economies in innovation output, in sustainability returns, anything. So if you're measuring progress by GDP, you're missing four-fifths of the story. If you're chasing degrowth, you're missing the point entirely. The real economy isn't shrinking or expanding, it's actually transforming, transitioning. This is what my new book is all about, Transition Science in the Economy. It will launch next month, 15th of November. And inside you'll see how to use these five transition lens to design stronger proposals, better investments, smarter policies. So I'll be running an event on that day. Register now. You'll see the link in the notes. Register now and start measuring what really matters, because growth is not enough. Direction is needed. You need to know where you're growing to. See you there. So, welcome back to InnovEU, the EU Project Chronicles. This is your podcast about research, innovation, and EU-funded projects. And I want to welcome António Serrador to the podcast. Welcome, António. Thank you for being here. How are you today?
I'm fine, and you?
I had better days, I have to admit. A bit sick. Well, it will be a short period thing, I hope. So, please, Antonio, let's forget about my cold and talk a little bit about your experience in innovation, in research. So, you're with the Polytechnic University of Lisbon, like me, but you work in the engineering school.
Yeah.
You've been working with the, entrepreneurship and research for and innovation for some time. Tell us a little bit about your institution and yourself.
Okay. So, my institution, it's Engineering School of Lisbon. So we have, I would say, all the classical courses that you expect from your engineering school. I'm working in this institution since '97, so it's a long time. And since '98, I start to work on projects, national ones and European ones. So I'm roughly work on projects more than 25 years in different institutions with different partners, as you can imagine, with different platforms. So ones that have lots of funds, the ones that has less funds. So my experience in projects deals with different kind of approaches that you can have on the things that you can do, the things that you can invest, and so on. So besides being a professor, well, since the last century, I'm starting to work with the European projects. So that's why I have some experience on that. And from my personal perspective, European projects have one major problem, which is the when you start a consortium, usually people are working alone, meaning that it's very hard to have a cooperation work, a real one. I mean, side by side, because people are working in different countries, different institutions, different cultures, and also different agendas. So there are lots of difference among partners, and this is very hard to 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 reach a real success. You know? So it's sometimes it happens, sometimes it works. Depends also on the people, on the interpersonal behavior that people can show among them. So depends a lot on the people,
Can
but
you think, let me interrupt you on
yeah.
that point. Can you think of some success stories, the good
Yes,
ones?
there are some success stories that can say that there are some exceptions to this rule. So it's possible to identify some of these success stories, but usually the thing that I mentioned, that the problem, the key problem in European projects, is that all partners try to work together, but it's very hard. For instance, if you have a system that produces an output, this output is not compatible with the system of another partner. So it's very hard to integrate results or even to compare results. So I recall some projects that the most hard thing to do was to compare results because the inputs are not the same. So of course the results it's not comparable. So in some cases, people assume that this is natural and go forward with that. So and try to overcome this problem just to make the best effort. Even this problem is so relevant that I was in the project that only deals with this, only deals with the problem of interoperability. So it's not a very easy thing to solve because
Was that a success story, that project about the interoperability?
um, yeah, there was a project that deals with telecommunications. That, of course, in telecommunications, one of the key aspects is the standard. So we have to work with standards, and of course, we have to agree on parameters, the range of the parameter, the minimum, the maximum, and so on. So the project deals with the standards, and of course, standards. It's a very focus on interoperability. So if you are working with standardized things, this will work. But if you are working on research, this is very hard to work. So my message is, if your focus is to work together, please work as a standard. Uh, so your mind should work as a mindset of a standardized person, meaning that you should follow strictly the rules that you propose to the project. Otherwise, people push different ways, different directions, and it's very hard to put all things together.
In a way, what you're saying questions one of the principles of EU-funded projects, the idea that you need partnerships of different member states to apply for almost every call. Do you think that some projects would have better results if done by individual institutions, sorry, not by partnership, by
Oh,
consortium?
I understand. I understand. Yeah, that's the nice question. Um, well, I would say that working with different partners, it's another level because you are pushed to work together, and sometimes one partner is more developed than other. So you can push other partners to your level. So you teach partners that are less developed on a given topic. If you are working alone, it's very you don't gain this diversity. So the your system, your bioecology around it's much more poor because you are working alone. So it's business as usual. But if you are working together, real working together, you learn something with others. Everyone learns something with others. At least the culture is learned. One of the good things working in European projects is that you learn how other countries may work, and you try to match the culture of the working process. So it's a learning process all the time, but I think in the end, if you work with others, it's better than work alone. In some cases, if it is a very simple job, of course, if you are working alone and you are self-motivated person, you can work alone. But generally speaking, I would say that working together is better than working alone.
Let me ask you another question. After these years of experience with all these projects you run, do you think your students stood to gain from those from those projects and from your experience, do you think it's important for universities to run these projects? Does that benefit students?
Yeah, for sure. My answer is yes. So having this experience that I mentioned before, knowing the cultures, knowing some details of different institutions, I mean the background of the institutions, why they are like that, the politician behind the different things. So it's good to know all these details that are not written in books, and you can propagate this knowledge to students. You can, let me say, have some stories to tell to students, because you know some details, you know what the reason behind this and that. So you can explain to students why is this, why the American behave like that, why the Chinese behave like that. So you can tell stories that are not written in books. So for students, it's great to have a professor. I would say, sorry to say that, but it's great for students to have professors that have a lot of experience to share with them.
And do you think that projects should have a larger effort on communication and in this kind of bringing students, bringing stakeholders to the projects?
Yeah. It's very, yeah. As I mentioned, so dissemination, it's a key point in all projects. If you don't disseminate, so you are in an island, so it doesn't work. So you need to have effective ways to disseminate your work. You can use nowadays social media, because social media reach many persons, so it's very easy to disseminate. Um, so, but the key thing here is to address the right public. If your public is students, so you need to find the right tool, the right media to reach students, because usually students have a different layer of the social media. If you are a business, you need to go for some forums to disseminate your project. If you are academic, you need to have a broad sense to disseminate your work to your fellow colleagues or to your students. So it depends on the type of result, and depends on the public that you are trying to target. So you should use different ways to communicate depending on your public. Yeah.
I see. And tell me, in your experience, do you usually involve stakeholders like companies working in specific areas? Do you usually involve this kind of stakeholders in your projects?
Yeah. For my experience working with companies, it's a very good thing, because companies, they are very rational, meaning that they spend money in the very efficient way. So they are not just spending money; they are spending money in the very careful way. So when I work with companies and the money involved is from them, not public funding, um, everything should be rationalized. So if you are trying to in the project to buy an equipment, the decision to buy the equipment is very careful. Make the decision is very precise. So you need to take very precise decisions when the money is from private companies. If it is a public funds, well, usually you don't care about, you are not the owner of the money, so usually the money is not well spent, or at least is not quite efficient way to spend money. So from my experience working with companies in the direct way, the result it's more efficient. The impact is, you can have more impact when you work with companies and with their own money, because you can impact the citizens, you can impact the product of companies in a direct way. So I personally, I rather work with companies with their own money, with regardless of the or with when you compare the results from projects that have funds from public money. So it's more efficient working with private companies with their own money.
Mm. So let me change the subject. In these years of experience, did you notice some change in the support that the institution gives you or other teaching staff to develop these projects? Do you notice some change in the institution's position about this?
Yeah. I think that the common position on the public institution is by the law of the government. So if you are guided by rules that are provided by the government, so this doesn't change too much, because they say, okay, we will make buying equipment, for instance, more easy, but in the end you have a lots of bureaucracy behind it. And usually people that are in your institution, they say to you, okay, this is not my problem, this is by law, so this is a national rule, so we have a tremendous amount of papers to fill in, we have these procedures. And all in these 25 years, in some cases the bureaucracy increase, because they are trying to prevent some criminals, I would say, and then this doesn't work, because the bureaucracy will increase because of these problems on criminal laws and so on. So they are trying to um, solve a problem, but they are creating a bigger problem. I know a friend that he says to me, he makes a PhD on this topic, and he says to me that the negative impact on the results, it's bigger uh, when you compare if you don't have bureaucracy and you have criminals running the projects. So because the amount of bureaucracy, the negative impact, it's quite bigger if you have some losses on money. So, for instance, a municipality doesn't launch projects, construction projects, for instance, because they are afraid of bureaucracy. So, the development of a municipality has a negative impact because of bureaucracy. So if you don't have this bureaucracy fighting criminals, people will launch more projects, and the municipality will develop more. So it's a very funny story, because uh, bureaucracy has tried to fight criminals, but in fact it fight against ourselves, because the development is in jeopardy because of this. Yeah. So
Yeah,
in the end, I would say that less bureaucracy can accommodate a margin for criminals. Yeah.
I see your point. It's not a very optimistic one, but
No,
okay.
no, no, no. So it doesn't change in these 25 years. Nothing changed for better. So the bureaucracy always increasing. The number of signatures that you need to buy some equipments is always very high. Number of persons involved in these procedures. So it's not a motivating thing. This bureaucracy behind projects.
Well, that leads me to the next question. How do you see the future of your institution, your involvement in research, innovation, EU-funded projects? What are your views for the future and your
Okay.
plans?
Okay. So based on this idea of bureaucracy, usually universities are the ones that well make research and needs to have some procedures to spend money to invest in projects. So universities try to overcome this problem, creating foundations and creating associations that has a private law behind. So I think the future, unfortunately, it's that universities and public institutions need to find ways, as a private institutions have, the freedom to buy equipments, the freedom to hire personnel, and the freedom to make decisions. So in the private world, it's very easy to make decisions and to go forward. But in public, as I mentioned before, the bureaucracy is tremendous. So I think the future, in the short term, it's to have these private associations that universities can have inside them, in order to have this private law and private procedures, which is very, very fast to solve and has a positive impact. But in the long term, if Europe aims to be again a competitive continent in the world, we need to reduce bureaucracy a lot. So I think the politicians should make different laws for the ones that are making research and development, and for the ones that are trying to build a better world. Because it's not in the universities that you'll find some frauds or some people that are criminals or whatever. So why put always in everyone the pain of the fraud? Yeah, that's I think the major problem. So we need to develop Europe. We need to put again Europe in the podium of innovation, because we are now behind China, we are behind United States concerning innovation. Yeah, so if you need to go forward, you need to reduce a lot of this bureaucracy. I'm not just saying that we need more funds to be more innovative. We need to reduce a lot of these public procedures and so on. So
Well,
this,
this
I
is
think,
the right time to say that, because a new framework, research framework, is under preparation. The 2028 onwards, there will be a new framework, and it's already being prepared. So that's the occasion for having new rules and having some cut in the bureaucracy, or I like to call it some smart bureaucracy. Some things that you shouldn't need to be proving, because it's already in the system, and they're not always using the information they have on our activity. So they make us duplicate and sometimes triplicate the input of that information. So I hope they will listen to you. I hope
yeah,
this new framework will be somehow different. And you're also touching important points of the Draghi report, that also mentioned that there's an innovation gap, that Europe is lagging behind, and he also mentions that we need to deregulate to reduce all these bureaucracy affecting us. So just recently, last week, there was this public session about the Draghi report, because it was 1 year of the Draghi report, and they claimed to have a lot of successes. But they also admitted there's a lot to be done. So hopefully people will listen to you.
yeah.
Any final message to end the interview?
Well, final message: don't lose your hope. So try to change the world every day. Try to claim your ideas that you think that can have a positive impact in the world. Don't lose the faith. Yeah, and never stay quiet if you feel that you are right. So always push forward and think positively.
I really like that one. Never stay quiet, because you can. In other places you couldn't. So why stay quiet? Yeah, I agree with you completely.
Okay.
Antonio, thank you very much for this interview. I'll be, with your permission, I'll be posting your contacts in the podcast notes so that people interested in new projects can get in touch with you. And hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Fernando.
This call can fund your university alliance with 2 teak and 5 mil tools, but only if you set it up right. Let me show you how to make it count. This is part of Horizon Europe's push to improve access to excellence, lifting research performance in and with widening countries, with a center of gravity in those regions. Think fewer gaps across Europe, stronger alliances, and faster diffusion of excellence. The European Excellence Initiative, EEI, funds coordinated actions that raise the overall level of excellence in higher education research, especially through European university alliances, so institutions in widening countries connect to broader networks and level up. Expected impact: higher success in Horizon Europe, stronger R&I capacity, and more inclusive consortia. Opens 8 May 2025, deadline 20, Nov 2025, 17 EINGS Brussels time, type of action, coordination and support action, CSA, total budget, 80 METs, EU contribution per project, 25 MEM, 227 projects funded. For details, check the Funding and Tenders portal. Proposals must come from a consortium with at least 3 independent legal entities in 3 different EU member states or associated countries. Only organizations established in widening countries can coordinate. General eligibility is in General Annex B. Tip: in ex aequo ties, proposals are prioritized to spread coordinators across widening countries. Design your consortium with that in mind. Your proposal should credibly lead to raised research excellence in higher education entities in and around widening countries, higher Horizon Europe participation success, stronger, more inclusive innovation ecosystems, and better SME startup opportunities, improved international outreach and regional actor involvement, make each outcome traceable to concrete work packages and KPIs. Lead where you're allowed. If you're in a widening country, coordinate and anchor your alliance locally while pulling in top-tier partners for mentoring and joint labs. This improves excellence KPIs and your Horizon participation odds. Align with European university alliances, show how your alliance accelerates research excellence and connects education, research, innovation missions. Map tasks to measurable excellence lifts, publications quality, advanced infrastructures access, joint PhD tracks. Design for evaluator logic. Tie each activity to a specific impact pathway, capacity, results, outcomes. Use a simple from-to table to show the delta in excellence after 36 months. Award criteria in Annex D, procedures in Annex F. De-risk ties. Since ex aequo prioritizes geographic diversity of widening coordinators, scan the landscape and avoid identical coordinator country patterns seen higher in past rankings. Diversify regional strengths. Budget smart. Aim 2 of 5 MIPIDs only if justified by scale. Show co-funding and sustainability plans to keep results alive post-grant. Consortium. Mid-task 3 legal entities in 3 different MSAC. Coordinator. Must be from a widening country. Type CSA. Check. General Annex B for full conditions. For more details, visit the Funding and Tenders portal. If this fits your alliance, start partner mapping now and work backwards from the 20 Nov 2025 deadline. Want my checklist for fast alignment? Ping me and read the show notes for links.
Credits, author and host Fernando C. Gaspar, music Diogo Gaspar, Lisbon, Portugal, 2024. Reach us by email or DM.